Welcome to another edition of Next Tech Insider, where I banter with some really eclectic thought leaders on the hot button themes impacting their particular areas or industry. In my hot seat today is Chris Bevan of Outwry. Chris, thank you for chatting to us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
And today we are going to debunk some of the really big myths around transformation and try and demystify what some of these mean for your organization. You've done a lot of research on program failure, going back some 35 years or so. And we were talking off camera, and you said the failure rate in the corporate world stands at approximately 70% for these transformation programs. That's a really high number. This is supported by McKinsey and the like. So what's behind that? What's causing these programs in the corporate world not to gain the momentum and traction that they need and actually succeed?
When you look at the people who are leading these transformation sort of programs, they are generally very successful, very experienced executives, but their success and their experience has come from running operations. Now, if we think of operations running on rails, like a train, obviously, then somebody else put those rails down. And those rails could have been put down 50, 80, 100 years ago.
Right.
And so what one is doing is improving what's already there. What needs to happen is to transform. So you have very, very good operators, and I'm not deriding their ability to run an operation, but transformation is different. We're ripping up those rails. In a transformative environment, leadership takes place in the context of lots of ambiguity. We don't necessarily know what the route is from beginning to end, and that route could take 18 months or 2 years. However, we're constrained in our operational thinking by putting structures down very early on in the program, and we stick to that structure come hell or high water right to the end. We have our program boards, we have our governance, we have our Gantt charts, and we stick to those Gantt charts and program boards and structures. And governance is important, but it's more about assuring we're doing the right things rather than constraining our innovative thinking.
So Chris, here's a thought. As you've been describing what this process looks like and the reasons that contribute to when it doesn't quite pan out as expected, part of me was thinking, well, actually, a lean startup model might actually be quite beneficial for a corporate to take a leaf out of that book a little bit, where they are almost innately built to pivot their proposition based on market response, and not have this very fixed, rigid structure at the outset that they absolutely must hit every milestone of. Is that something that resonates with you in terms of the exposure you've had to different sectors? Do you feel that there is something that corporates can learn from an agile startup?
Companies can learn a lot from agile, but sometimes agile becomes a bit restrictive. It has to be done in a certain way. Okay. Let's call it agile or flexible, or one has to be able to, as you say, pivot to from where you're learning, where you need to go. As you're going through a transformation, then you're learning every day. And so the ability to take that learning on board, not in an unstructured way, but you have to then make decisions based on what you're learning rather than what you knew when you started.
Chris, one thing that's occurring to me as well is, I'd love to get your take on where does transformation come from in the business? Because typically when I hear of a transformation program, be it digital or otherwise, to my mind, I think of certainly leadership, but then I instantly think of perhaps the HR team as the ones that actually will rally the troops and deploy this. But I'm guessing that's not always the case, and it can come from perhaps anywhere, any pocket in the company?
Yes, it can. Okay. And HR, they've got a fantastic job to play in the transformation, but generally speaking, they are not the people leading the transformation. We're transforming an operation here. We're transforming a business or an enterprise that is currently sort of in play. And in my experience, there are two sort of types of transformation. There's offensive and defensive. I'm not talking about the NFL here. I'm talking about if we're in a very strong position, market position, we have strong products and strong customer base, that is sometimes a good time to transform us to ensure that we continue on the trajectory that we're going. Unfortunately, the majority of transformations that I and my colleagues have been involved in have been defensive transformations, where they are responding to market conditions, they're responding to competitive situations. And in a defensive transformation, compromise is usually sort of front of mind of these operating executives. And the compromise comes on scope, it comes on cost, it comes on time, and therefore it tends to constrain the ability to deliver. So that sometimes is one of the reasons that these programs fail, because they're not given the time and the space to deliver.
When we talk about transformation programs, understandably, every program will have a strong digital component. Yes. Ergo, there's a lot of demand for insights on digital transformation. But of course, that isn't just this small component on its own, and it has wider ramifications. How do we keep people in the equation?
Well, in our view, a digital transformation, before you can transform and use digital technology, you have to be a digital organization first. And a digital organization, from a people point of view, is what we would call a right-to-left organization, not a left-to-right. It is driven by demand coming in rather than supply going out. And so if one understands how that demand-driven organization works, you're already starting to feel like a digital organization, and understanding where your people fit within that organization, then the technology will support them. Think about the people first, think about customer-led, and then think about the technology.
Indeed, one thing I say in all of my talks is the future is human. It isn't actually
Absolutely.
just technological, and keeping our needs at the core of it and tech as a wrapper around it to be able to allow us to deploy those programs, of course. Chris, thank you so much for chatting to us today about all things transformation and debunking some of the really big myths around it.
Thanks for asking me, I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. And thank you for watching.